Hey, it's MK, and I am joining Christy's Beautiful Life 30 Days of Sketches this month. And today's sketch is by Sarah Christensen. And I have decided to do a foodie layout. I love this design because it is very similar to a pocket page where you're concentrating on decorating every itty bitty little bit of square. So I have pre-cut out some Polaroid frames just from a white piece of cardstock. And then I have this uber old acrylic piece from Not Just for Boys. I know it's about 3 or 4 years old. I also went into my Brad stash. So I have a little tray or a little dish of Brads sitting on my desk, hoping that if they sit on my desk, it will remind me to use Brads. And every now and then, it works. I have some tiny word stickers as well as some tiny chipboard word frames. And then I pulled out these Simple Stories snap stickers, basically just for the craft elements on them. But then I end up not using them. I didn't really need them, because I was kind of going into panic mode about what is it that I'm going to fill in all of these little shapes with? Like, what am I going to use to fill in all of these little frames? So I have some washi tape. I also have a little set from Close to My Heart to bring in some more craft pieces. I don't end up bringing the pieces I thought I was going to bring in, but it still works. And then from the page kits that I made last month, these are the papers that I picked out. I definitely like the addition of this travel piece because we are traveling where this food came from. We're actually on a cruise ship. And so this is one of the dinners, one of the nights that we had at dinner on our Alaskan cruise ship. So the travel paper definitely comes into play. I also brought in this greenish paper because of Janet's drink that I took a picture of. Well, I don't know if I took a picture of this or her husband did. I think I did, because her husband's pictures are way better than mine. And then from a paper swap that I did at the Carson House, which is a retreat house that Joni owns, I picked up a couple papers for my Alaskan cruise. So this is one of the papers that I picked up and put in as the background paper for my foodie layout, because I thought it would be great seeing how it has that travel theme, but when you cover it all up, you're not really going to see it. I still feel like it makes for a great background. Okay, so I did rotate this layout because all of my pictures go up and down instead of left and right. So I rotated it, and all of the decorative pieces are going to now be going horizontally, even though they're still square frames, like they're still square pictures, but the frames themselves are horizontal. I also wanted to let you guys know that I have a baggie, and I'll be addressing that here pretty soon, that I purposely ignored when I brought it in and showed you guys that this is part of the supplies that I'm going to be using. And you'll see here in a minute why I ignored it. I've been ignoring it for years, you guys. And I say years, probably 2 years. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to distress the inside of these frames and then pick out which paper I want. And from this scrap, I only end up getting 2 inside pieces. And then I will end up getting all 4 of the other pieces from 3. I could get 4 if I needed to, but I got the other 3 from this green piece, which I think is kind of cool because it adds that green element into my layout, because I've got this bright green drink and I don't bring anything else in that's bright green, but I do have like a teal color or an aqua color coming in from my title, as well as that postage stamp paper too. So I also decided that my pictures look a little plain Jane and not so fancy schmancy because it's just plain cardstock. There's no characteristics in this cardstock at all. And so I thought, you know what? They need an outline. So I'm going to outline all of my pictures using the red and yellow cardstock. So I'm going to do the non-photos with red and the photos with the yellow. And hopefully I can get enough of the yellow out of my out of this one wonky cut. I have no idea why it's in a triangular shape like this. I do not remember cutting off the triangles. I must have done it for something. I'm wondering if I did it for my son's. I don't remember, you guys, because I do triangle layouts, but I don't remember them very well. I do end up getting enough pictures or enough photo mats. Oh my gosh, I'm tripping over my words and I do apologize. But I do end up getting enough photo mats for the behind of my pictures, and I really do enjoy them. So I'm going to go off camera and edge distress. Well, I glue the inside pieces first because I'm edge distressing using my fingers because these frames are, again, only made out of cardstock, and I don't even remember which cardstock I used. Because cleaning up my room, I found a couple pieces of white cardstock that don't feel like white daisy because they feel a little on the thinner side. But I threw them in a baggie, a 12 by 12 baggie, so that way they don't get mixed up with my close to my heart white cardstock. I don't want to accidentally mix media on them and then completely ruin them because they're not that durable for the mixed media that I usually put on my white daisy. So I'm using my fingers to distress the edges, not only on the inside of the frame, but on the outside of the frame as well. And then I will glue them to my photo mat, and then I will edge distress those edges as well. I feel like I just said that 6 times. Just because this paper or this page really needs some sort of personality. It needed to come to life. And I feel like the edge distressing helped with that. Plus, it also helped if I don't measure correctly, because now all of the edges are wonky, right? That I love edge distressing, in case you guys didn't know that. So now what I'm doing is I went ahead and I did all of that because it was just very time consuming. And I'm now taking my supplies and making sure that I have at least 3 of something. So I've got this leftover Vicky Bouton little scrap that I had. So I went ahead and I cut it into thirds. I have 3 pieces of washi tape only because it looked like Sarah used washi tape on hers. And so I wanted to incorporate that as well. I didn't really get, really up close and personal. It just is what it looked like. So I have 3 strips of washi tape, 3 strips of this yellow Vicky Bouton paper. I don't know if it's a triangle, argon. I don't really know what print it is, but it's a tone-on-tone print. And now I'm doing 3 of these tiny chipboard words. So I have food coma, enjoy your meal, and then on the road. Or on the menu. And when I ink them, the letters will disappear. But when I show you the close-ups, they didn't really disappear. They just disappeared on camera. So here is the bag. Yeah, it's a mess. It's just leftovers from multiple projects that I have done over and over and over again. And I really needed to go through it. Now, most of the pieces are too big. They just... are way too big for what I need, and they're more like on the actual travel part rather than in the middle of the travel. Does that make sense? So they're more of when you get there type of thing, which is one thing that I love to document because I'm mostly a passenger, and so I usually take a lot of photos as we are going on the trip as opposed to just as many when we get there. And so in this baggie is a lot of on-the-go parts, and I didn't really know that. I really needed to go through it and check to see what all I had, to see if there was anything useful on this layout, because we are in the middle of a travel. We're in the middle of a vacation, and I just had no clue what to do with a foodie layout where I didn't really want to have forks and spoons and knives and napkins and just clearly it's food, but I wanted to really emphasize the fact that we are traveling. And, the best part of traveling is to try other foods. Try foods that are not in your area, that you don't cook on a normal basis. It's just trying the different foods. So I have my plate, my husband's plate, Janet's drink, and then my husband's dessert on this one particular layout, but it is all the same night's dinner, right? And another thing that I pulled out of that baggie was this cut file. Now, these are actually the inner bits, the leftovers of what was supposed to be the cut file. Does that make sense? So the cut file was 3 geotags, and then instead of them having circles in the middle, they had hearts in the middle. And I took it and I kept all of the leftover little bits and pieces and decided that this is what I was going to use. But I ended up having to throw away the main piece because it got all dirty and yucky and gross from being in the bag with everything else. So that was my fault, but not a big deal. I have this to where I could cut it super big, super small, and in between. It's not a big deal, but I did enjoy adding the little hearts. It was exactly what each of my little clusters needed. I also picked out a couple travel related brads. So one of them is a set of words and it says yum. It was actually an alpha set where you got 2 of each letter. And then you ended up with, whatever words that you make. And so I ended up making the word yum. And conveniently, they were just right on top, almost like I was going to use it on a different layout. And then I have a little anchor because we are on a cruise ship. I also have the word happy, but I don't intend to leave it on that pinking circle. And then the next one is a compass. I picked up these compasses on a give-take table, and there was quite a few of them. I think I only picked up 3 or 4 of them. I definitely didn't want to take all of them in case other people wanted to use the compass, but I think that they're a great addition to any kind of traveling layout, even if you're hiking, camping, traveling on the road and you're the navigator type of thing, any type of layout, these little compasses will work great. So anyways, yes. And then I left in the portion of, normally I fast forward this part, right? Because I have everything laid out in exactly the way that I want it to be. And then there's really no change when I go to glue it all together. But for this one, there's a lot of change. I just slapped everything in the little designated square, thinking, okay, I need this many of this many of that. I want to make sure that I have enough of everything. And I just haphazardly slapped it in there, not really decorating it in the intent that I want it to look like. Plus, I changed my mind. Every time that I moved to a different square, I ended up changing my mind. And so it was so dramatic that I decided, you know what, I'm going to leave this part in so they can see how it all changed. Like this one here, I decided I don't want my little stitching down at the bottom, which this little branding strip, the little gray branding strip that again came from that little baggie, was an uber old branding strip from one of the travel collections by Close to My Heart, and it had little globes on it. And I only had 6 little globes left, so I added both of them to this layout because I have a lot of gray on this layout, as well as green, and I think that's orange from that plate of meat up at the top. I don't even know what that is, you guys. I just know that it was definitely my husband's. So yeah, I just realized that I just had a lot of fun decorating this page, but at the same time, moved from square to square and didn't really place anything right off the bat. So this little heart here did not cut out all the way on my Cricut, and so I'm just giving it a little helping hand. But then I decided to not cut it out all the way. I left that little heart connected down at the bottom and decided I'm going to pop up the inner bit, but I'm going to glue the outer bit down, and then that way it looks like it's popped up and I've got a little bit of dimension going on in this layout instead of everything being flat. But I do have a lot of dimension because I have an acrylic piece, I have brads, real brads, but I purposely take off the prongs, go me. But I wasn't sure how this would pierce through, right? So that was on me. Plus, for this brad here, I want it to tuck underneath my chipboard word piece here. And so I ended up taking the brads off of this one so I could overlap it, which with the prongs where they were, it wasn't going to allow me to do that. So that definitely worked. And then of course, because I did it to one, I got to do it to all. And so I took off the prongs on all of them. Now here, like I said, I chose to ink it in black. Now I didn't do my Altenew, it's obsidian black. I didn't do that one because one, I wanted it to dry faster, and two, I didn't want it to be black. Like obsidian ink would have made it pure black, and it's so juicy it probably would have stuck into the words. This one is not that black. It is a good black. I like the archival black, but it is not black. And so when it dries a dull black, like kind of like a charcoal black, but not a gray. And then it also left my words out. Now, in future reference, I probably would have made my words white and then turned around and inked it again in black. But I could see the words just fine. I did not have a problem, and I liked how they still blended in and matched. But for future reference, I will probably turn my words white and then turn around and ink it again in the black so they are more visible. So moving on, I do have my center title here. So it's going to be Travel, Eat, Live. That is my central title piece. And I love it because Travel, Eat, Live is that is us. We don't really live to travel, but we love to travel. We love to eat, and we being me and my husband. And so I feel like we're just alive. And so that to me made sense when I found the word live, because on those tiny word stickers, I've got a ton of those little booklets, but I can never, ever, ever find the word I am looking for, ever. I mean, I have used them. I've made words work, but they just don't seem to be the right words. I don't know. All right, so I'm going to glue all this together. Now, it wasn't until I was editing the video, which is normally how it works, is when you're outside looking in, that I didn't realize that all of my brads ended up on the right-hand side, except for my Yum title. So technically, when I look at it, I'm not upset about it. I'm not going to change it, fix it. I don't think it needs fixed. But on the upside, I have 3 going in the vertical on the right, and then I have 3 going in the horizontal on the left. So technically, I still have 3 brads on my left-hand side. They're just not spread out to all 3 of the pictures. So in my brain, I'm not worried about it because I have 3 and 3 on both sides of my layout. They're just going in 2 different orientations. So it works to me. And I love the little Yum word. I really, really do. It says Yum, and then they're sitting on top of a little ticket that I found in my baggie as well. That was left over from a Not Just for Boys kit many years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, maybe even more. And because I can't remember that far back, you guys, yesterday feels like it was a lifetime ago. I'm just saying, I'm at that stage. And then underneath the word Yum, it says on the menu. So moving on to my last row up at the top. I should have started at the top because it was harder to work away from myself than it was to work so close to myself, but it's okay. I'm using these vellum stickers, and I'm trying to cover up, like the Eiffel Tower. I'm not in Italy, I'm sorry, in France. I really am not. So I didn't need it. I'm on a boat, in all honesty, in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. That's where I'm at. I wasn't in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, but I was in the ocean, in the Pacific Ocean on a boat. Nowhere near France. I did not need the Eiffel Tower. Why, in almost all travel instances, is it the Eiffel Tower? Why isn't it the Sydney Opera House or the, pyramids of Giza or the Leaning Tower of Pisa? I've always said pizza. I'm sorry. Why isn't it any other iconic landmark? Why is it always the Eiffel Tower? Every time I find something that is travel related, it's Paris. It has the word Paris in it. It has the Eiffel Tower. It has that. It's like that's the only one we identify ourselves with travel. And I don't understand that. I want to see the world's largest ball of yarn in the next travel collection, or the Statue of Liberty, or some American icons, the Space Needle from Seattle. I want to see those things. I don't want to constantly see the Eiffel Tower because that's all I end up ever doing is covering it up every time, you guys. So please let me know, why is it always? Or is it just, it's like buying a car. It's the only thing that you see once you've bought it. Is that what it is? I don't know. All right, you guys. So that is my layout. I had a lot of fun. I stressed out just a little bit, worried about not having enough elements to cover up all of my little squares. But in the end, I love this menagerie of goodness. I really, really do. I was worried about all the product that I picked out for this particular layout, but I think it came together great. I think everything ended up matching really well. I love the pops of red and yellow because they're in our food, right? I did cover up some of the pieces that popped out the red and yellow, but I'm okay with that. I really, really am. I really enjoyed how this turned out. So again, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I really, truly appreciate it. Don't forget to check out the links that I have down below. I have a playlist as well as a Facebook group for Christy's Beautiful Life 30 Days of Sketches. Sarah, thank you so much for such a great sketch. I had a blast working with all of these little squares. It was super fun. All right, again, thank you so much, and I will check you guys all later. Bye.